All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the dark truth about ICT concepts, okay? And why most people who trade these concepts fail miserably. So, I want to set the record straight for, right off the jump. I'm not a hater of ICT concepts. I use ICT concepts in my trading, SMC, whatever you want to call it. And I've been successful using it. So then that begs the question, then what the fuck is this video about then, right? Well, because most people who trade it still are not profitable, they're unsuccessful. I'm going to tell you why that is. What's the approach that most people take with ICT whenever they're learning under ICT? And I've actually made some videos on this in the past, but just to kind of hammer it down for, the newer folks that are following me that are not previous with my older videos. But also, there's another thing in this video that I want to include. Another thing that I think this community needs to work on immensely, because this is mainly, sure, this is a problem that is found within all trading communities, a lot of beginner traders, but it's amplified in this specific community. Number one, I want to set the record straight. I want to just say it right away. We're all retail traders. You watching this, myself, ICT, we're all retail traders. You don't trade for a bank, buddy. All right. How are you not a retail trader? And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be a rich retail trader. You can make a lot of money as a retail trader. So ICT, support and resistance, supply and demand. At the end of the day, it's all retail, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So the concepts, they work. Okay. And even just basic support and resistance. I made my first million just trading support and resistance. Like, my strategy that I used to make that first million was just trading morning panics into key levels of support with stocks. Now, I pivoted to Forex now, and I make a lot of money with Forex. But when I was starting off, I was focused on stocks. And I have videos. If you just look at like some of my oldest YouTube videos, you'll see some of my live stream sessions from way back in the day. And some of my earlier, or not really way back in the day, but just a couple years ago. And you'll see me demonstrating that equity morning panic strategy in the older videos. I made a lot of money like that. And, that's what a lot of people would deem retail, right? It's just it's trading like morning panics off of basic support levels and then just playing the bounce. It's that fucking simple. It's that simple. And I made a killing doing that. Do I do it anymore? No, because it's more has to do with the size of my trading account. The strategy, it still works. It's still a valid strategy. But just due to the size of my account, that's the reason why that I pivoted over into Forex. And around that time, I found ICT as well. And I just gravitated to his teachings because it was something that I never heard before, really. It was something different. It did catch my attention. And, trading with the banks, stuff like that, it hooked me. And I believe, a key part of that is that's the intention. Okay, it hooks you, and it hooked me. And I'm glad it did hook me. I'm absolutely glad it did hook me. I don't know if, the banks actually, not for certain, not 100% certainty. Okay, I believe in the concepts. I use the concepts. They work. I back tested it. It absolutely freaking works. Right? But I'm not in the inside in the banks. That's the key thing here. So I'm not in the inside of the banks. I'm not looking behind the curtains. So I'm going off what ICT, who is my mentor, teaches me. But myself and, you guys watching this doesn't know for certain if that's the case. And it might just be a method of teaching because it makes you more interested. See what I'm getting at? So, because it hooks you, and it did hook me, and it entices you to pay closer attention. It entices you to watch the content. It entices you to work hard because in your mind, you're thinking, this is what the banks is doing. This is what they're doing. This is what, and if I learn this, I can trade with the banks. And it makes you enthusiastic. That's why a lot of that community is so enthusiastic in learning. It's because they have that carrot. They have that carrot in front of them. And I don't think that's bad. I don't think it's bad, actually. And that's why even I talk like that now because I learned from ICT. I use, concepts like the order block, fair value, gaps, breakers, market maker, buy model, sell model, all that stuff. Okay. And it does all that works. But do the banks trade it? I don't know for 100% certainty. Okay. And you don't either. unless you're, looking behind the curtains, right? So I think it could be more of a, yes, a marketing thing, but also it's helpful for teaching because it makes the student interested. So that's just one of my observations, but it's really not, because some of you might be thinking, okay, then how does this tie into how traders fail? Because you just noted a positive. How are they failing though? Well, the negative thing about how students approach ICT concepts is they binge watch. This is like when a new student finds a content, they're enthusiastic. It's like an entirely different world that they're exposed to because it's like nothing they've heard before. And what they'll do is they'll try to do everything at once. Okay. So what you'll find is, ICT likes to use the term like you treat it like Netflix, right? You treat his videos like Netflix and you're just binge watch it over and over and over again, video after video. And, that's what happens. And then, but what happens whenever you treat his videos like this is you don't really retain any of the info because you're trying to take in too much at once. So, and I'm going to leave a link to another video I made on this topic. Again, this video is primarily for the newer followers of mine who have not seen the earlier videos. I'm going to go over something else in this video as well, so stay tuned for that too. But this is just, I did make a video on this specific topic, but I just want to hammer it home in this video. And then we'll go down, and then we'll get into like the third thing that I believe holds a lot of these traders back. Because this is the only thing. It isn't the information overload. Isn't the only thing that holds ICT traders back. It's one more thing, which I'm going to go into a little bit later. But this is a big thing. And it is information overload. It's trying to consume everything at once. Okay. What you need to do is you need to just start with like 2 or 3 videos a day max, and only do that. Watch just 2 or 3 videos a day. That's going to be your maximum. And then you need to be taking notes when you're watching these videos, and you need to be back testing what you need to go into the charts, and you need to actually go study what he's teaching you. That's the only way you're really going to learn. If you're just watching video after video, you don't retain anything. It's in one ear and it's out the next. You don't keep any of that information. Okay. And you just kind of run in place. So the best way to study his content, and any content really, is to just take it piece by piece and really spend time on, each video and really dig into it, really study it. Don't just watch. If you just watch, you don't learn. You got to actually apply it. You have to actually go look for it. And, ICT himself says that as well. Like, you have to actually use the stuff. You can't just expect to watch him do it and then learn it. It just doesn't work like that. That's not how learning happens. You have to use it. You have to apply it, and then you get it, right? So that's that. And I'll leave a link to another video I made on this topic in the video description. After you watch this video, you can go watch that one. And I teach you how to approach his content, like which playlist to start with and etc. Stuff like that. There will be a link to that in the description. Now, the third thing, this is a big issue within this community, is the ego. Okay. So do I agree with how ICT conducts himself sometimes? His attitude, personality, he can be a bit much sometimes, but I'm there for the content. I'm there to learn and become better. And so I can kind of push that aside. But here's the deal. He's essentially earned that. And he's essentially earned the rights, because he's been doing this for years and years. Been trading longer than most of you have been alive. So it's kind of understandable in a way. Like he has that confidence, that like, sure, he can make the argument that sometimes it borderlines arrogance, cockiness, but he kind of earned it though. You got to think about it, like years and years of experience, and he knows exactly what to look for. He's very confident in his trading style, so it's earned. But a lot of you, and this is a big problem within this community, because a lot of you beginners, you try to act like you're ICT and you're not. You're cocky, you're arrogant, and you don't know what you're doing still. Okay? You got to earn that at least. Like, I mean, that's something that I cannot stand, and it's a big problem within that community is, arrogant newbies, arrogant beginners. I get it, you're enthusiastic because it's an entirely new world, and now you think you're a bank trader, right? Nope, you're a retail trader still. And there's nothing wrong with that. We already covered that. But you got to humble yourself, okay? Because you know what's going to happen if you keep that attitude It's going to leave you nowhere but destruction. And that goes to the next point. Because you know what happens when you get cocky? You know what happens when that ego starts to blow up, when you think you're too good? You start being reckless. You start to trade a little bit bigger. You start to skip out on your rules a bit because you know the algorithm is going to go here. You're certain of it. You have that mindset that you know what's going to happen and you don't. And that's a detrimental mindset that many in that community hold. You may know one scenario is more likely than another to occur, but there's not 100% certainty at play. Or else, if there was 100% certainty at play, and I knew there was a 100% certain scenario, then I would go all in on every single trade that I had that scenario. But you don't, do you? Well, if you're smart and you're not a complete fucking degenerate, well, then no, you don't. So that's the thing. Like, that cockiness, it's going to lead to trading bigger. It's going to lead to breaking your rules because you have such a certain scenario in mind because your ego is more important. Taking that L in that trade would hurt your ego. And no, we can't have that, right? Because that's more important than making money. That's more important than making money, is preserving that ego, because you understand the algorithm. And if it was to go up, well, then that just, it means you didn't know what was going to happen. And no, you can't accept that. In your mind, you can't accept that. And then you revenge trade, and it's just a complete mess. You're trading bigger, and you get the point. That's where cockiness leads, and that's where a lot of you are at in that community. Okay? So humble yourself. You don't know anything yet. You're a newbie, and that's fine. Everybody wants to try to skip to the finish line and be the professional right away, to be that expert trader. Every single expert trader, every single trader you look up to, even ICT himself, was a beginner at one point, was a newbie at one point, and there's nothing wrong with that. Embrace it. Because one day, if you keep at it, you're going to be that expert. But what we have is a lot of people, a lot of newbies trying to act like they're already an expert because they learned a few little concepts and now they think they know something, and you don't. You don't know anything. That cockiness, and a lot of you, tells me you don't know anything. Okay? Because in most cases, cockiness screams inexperience. Okay? So you got to humble yourself. You got to realize that, because if you don't, then the market's going to do it for you. And a lot of you are going to have to learn the hard way. Like me making this video, you listening to me, it's not really going to go through to a lot of you. And what I've realized is, you don't got to. If you're really smart, then you would take my advice, of course, and then you could avoid this. But a lot of you are just going to have to get burned. It goes back to that quote, like, you could tell somebody a stove is hot, right? But then some people just got to put their hand on it to find out for themselves. Then that's probably going to be the case with a lot of people. They're going to get burned. And then, once you're left with nothing but blown up accounts and losing money consistently, then you realize that it was your psychology that was holding you back. You need to humble yourself. You need to get your psychology on point. You need to learn how to manage risk. And that does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, not what's on the charts. All the technical analysis, all that stuff, learning how to read price is very important. If it wasn't, well, then even myself, I wouldn't be making so many videos on price action. If it wasn't important, it is. But it's just one part of the equation. And a lot of people in the ICT community, they only focus on that one piece of the puzzle. A lot of people neglect in that community risk management. They neglect the psychology side of things, and they operate from this mind frame of there is certainty in the marketplaces. A lot of you will deny that, but your actions prove it. Because how do you operate? I see this thrown around all the time in the community. It's like, you know what's going to happen. No, you fucking don't. I don't care what you say. Nobody knows what's going to happen. A certain scenario is more likely to occur over another. That's called an edge, and that's all you need to succeed. But to say you know what's going to happen implies that something is going to happen here in a certain scenario, and that's detrimental to psychology. A lot of you may not be on a level to understand that, but it is. It's detrimental because you operate from it has to do this. And then when it doesn't, well, then what do you do next? I operate from the place that anything can happen. Anything can happen. I understand I have an edge, and I understand that one scenario is probably more likely to occur over another, but that doesn't mean it absolutely has to. An A+ setup, the best of the best setup that you can possibly have, can be wrong. You could have everything that lines up according to your plan, and that setup can be invalidated. And then it's what you do after that that matters. A lot of you aren't even mentally prepared for that, because you think you understand the algorithm inside and out. It has to be doing this. It has to be doing this. He taught this, and then it didn't happen. And then you go crazy, you go off the rails because you don't have the psychology on point. A lot of you need to put more focus on that, on getting that to the point where it needs to be. Okay? because I see a lot of wasted potential in the community. I see, because a lot of you can read charts really good. You can read charts great, but the wasted potential is because you neglect psychology and risk management. Guess what? If you had all three, if you had your ability to read a chart, you take the ICT concepts, you take what he teaches you in regards to reading price, you learn how to manage risk, and then you have what I call unfuckwithable risk management, or psychology, unfuckwithable psychology. You get all three of those components, which is what I call the three pillars to profitable trading. You're unstoppable. You're unstoppable at that point. You want to get rich, you can get rich in a fairly quick manner, right? Doesn't happen overnight, of course, but it'll start to snowball pretty quickly. You'll start to compound that capital, and you'll start to reach your goals a lot faster than you think if you develop those three pillars. But a lot of you only got one, and it's the chart reading. You don't got the other two. Okay? And you need all three to be successful. And that's what that community is missing. That's why most of you fail. So yes, there's the information overload part of things. That's one thing. But then even some of you learn the concepts, you understand it, but you don't have these three pillars, and then you still fail. So we know what's the point, right? So that's what you need to do. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you later.